Good morning, everybody. I'm Catherine Cooke, founder of The Engine and leading business advisor, talking to two of our providers to The Engine, Kat Corbett, Director of Peaceful Pipeline, and Bejoy Josie, Director of Mello Technologies on Your Customers Are Speaking. Are you listening to them? Thank you for coming on to discuss this topic today.
Thanks for having me.
Catherine?
How are you doing on this cold morning?
Yeah, it was freezing, eh?
The fog was pretty impressive this morning. Anyway, let's get right into this. Business is about people, and without people, you don't have a business. If you're a business owner and it isn't clear to you that the customer's voice is the most important voice to hear, you've been living under a rock. At The Engine, when we engage a client, we ensure we do a 360 review of their business, which includes customer and employee feedback. When you dive into what your customers are actually saying and get that feedback, what do you do with that information? More often or not, no feedback is being sought, but almost 100% of the time, nothing is done with the information where feedback is received. Kat, how important is that feedback from your customers?
It's really critical. It's the foundation of innovation and success. So if you listen to your customers and you understand what their challenges are and what they may be, you're able to meet them with products or services. So that really does support the growth of a business.
Thanks, Kat. Bejoy, as you know, I highly rate a customer survey being done independently by a third party. We did one for your business. What benefit did you get from the findings?
Catherine, the survey your team done was very eye-opening for us because it come from a third party, to be honest, and it was unfiltered and unbiased, and it challenged us. It helped us to, see some blind spots we were not aware of. At the same time, it's also highlighted, the strength that we had, So it was really valuable information, and it also helped us to fine-tune our offerings slightly better, in terms of where there was a need. And yeah, so it helped us with making informed decision and improve the customer satisfaction in our business.
Yeah, thanks, Bejoy, and I'm so proud of you for what you've implemented as well. It's definitely proving to be invaluable as you move forward in your business. So for all the clients that tell me they've been in their respective industry for a long time and know what their customers want, I challenge them to do a survey. I mean, times change and so do customer expectations. You need to give your customer a voice to be able to meet their needs. Kat, you are in the business of communication. Without listening to the customer, where will a business owner end up?
In a very sad place, a no man's land, if you will. For me, the customer problems, they inform the marketing message. And if a business doesn't know how to know the problems or how to articulate what the issues are that their customers are facing, they'll be drowned out by all the noise.
Oh, look, and it's quite often people don't even know who they are, so you really need to dive in and find out exactly who they are, where they're going and what they stand for. Otherwise, the messaging is all over the place. So absolutely rate what you do with customers. Kat, it's just amazing. And even just your little sort of short videos on LinkedIn Live are just so helpful, so helpful.
Thank you.
Customers speak all the time through Google, social media, online reviews, but none of these are structured feedback. When you actively seek feedback in a structured way, you uncover valuable insights that will always improve your product or the way you provide a service. Kat, what would you encourage as key questions to ask in a customer survey?
So for me, there's actually an additional step to the survey. People say one thing which is really valuable to have, but often their behavior is more insightful, like what they actually do. So I'll give you an example, and it's Henry Ford's old famous quote. If I asked people what they wanted, they would have said faster horses. So it's understanding that people can behave differently to what they say. And it's just, I have a process where I will analyze content and see which topics are resonating by people's reactions and comments so that I don't make assumptions about what sort of messaging is resonating.
I love how you're talking about reactions, because the work that we do really dives into that emotional behaviour. How people are reacting to certain things, and how they approach it as well. So doing that customer survey is just one part of the bigger picture, which is so important to really fully analyse exactly that behaviour. Bejoy, you're a partner with Zoho, a client relationship management system, and your team and you also build and rebuild websites. What tools are available to gather customer feedback and analyse customer insights through Zoho, or are necessary for implementation for website builds?
Yeah, so Zoho ecosystems comes with a bunch of tools other than CRM. So we have Zoho Forms, which can come in handy to gathering some information from client during the time of project. A project management system will help them keep them in the loop at every project milestone. And one of the interesting tools that Zoho offers is a survey tool, which you can send your own internal survey after a project is completed, so that you can get a feedback, on the project where it went well and stuff like that. And using all these data collected, Zoho offers an analytic tool or reporting capability, so you can analyze the data, look at the trends, and make some informed decisions. See what your customer is saying, and create a better customer experience, from that data.
And so really what you're saying is, by using those tools, you're actually understanding your customers' real-time thinking, which is really, really important. So, that's a different kind of customer survey to what we do, but it's equally important to understand and to be able to capture that and react in a positive way. So, for example, if somebody is saying that they're not particularly happy in an area, or they've given some advice about what can be improved, you can act on it in real time. So it's such an important tool. I just totally rate it. Customers are, the lifeblood of your business. When you actively listen, you build stronger relationships and connections, enhance customer loyalty, and drive business growth. What other benefits are there, Kat?
So when you are listening to your customers and you're putting out products or services and messaging that serves them, you're building a really powerful brand, and that leads to long-term sustainability for a business.
And I like how you talk about long-term sustainability, because for the listeners out there, there's such a terminology called early adopters, and they're the people that come into your business and leave quickly. So they give you that spike in terms of, oh God, my business is going really well, but then they leave. So you really want to get that long-term sustainability that keeps the people there on the journey and promoting you, right, Kat?
Yeah, so if you look at a market, typically around 3 to 5% of a market is ready to buy now. And so if you're doing kind of direct marketing, that's the market you'll pick up. But that exhausts itself. And so the rest of the market, you need to make sure you're nurturing, so that when they're ready for your solution, they come to you. And that is the power of the brand. It's nurturing that 95 to 97% really.
Yeah, keeping that sales funnel moving through is so important. You've got to have warm leads.
Yeah,
it starts at 0 and they pop out, from 1 to 10. It could be over a month, a 6 month, or even a 2-year period. But just keeping them nurtured and informed, they just know where to come back to. So we welcome testimonials in the business that we do. A, it tells us how we're performing, and B, it just gives other businesses an insight into the delivery of what we do. And absolutely loved a testimonial that we got from Wendy, Director for Absolute Scaffolding, and she wrote in her long and much appreciated testimonial, Catherine also recommended we hear the voice of our customer and we engage in a customer survey produced by the engine, which delivered insights and learning along with the humbling testimonials from our customers, that's her customers. And we look forward to putting those learnings from our customers into action. The engine has been a solid and reliable source of education and guidance in these changing times. it's great to know that they're just a phone call away. So like what you're saying, Kat, just keep nurturing. We might not be working with them right now, but we're the first people they call when they need some help with something. The best part of doing a survey for us at the Engine is communicating back what learning came from the survey and the changes made. It shows the customer's opinions are valued and the company is committed to continuous improvement. But Joy, what other benefits are there for adopting learning from client feedback? I mean, you've just gone through this journey about a year ago. What did you do in terms of adopting the learnings?
I think the crucial part is, from that feedback and, the outcomes or the changes that you made in the organization and communicating with the client about what's been changed. So that's the most important thing. So, when you're acting on their feedback and making some positive changes, I think it builds a stronger connection between the customer. And I think I believe it will enhance the customer satisfaction. Another area that we found interesting was the feedback often highlighted, where we can do better. And we're working on that. We were able to fine tune our offerings, which was creating some extra services, which there was a need for it, So often markets are not, it's not always same, it's changes. So if you know your customer preference, you can change that and, and stay relevant in the market, So, of course, these lessons, help us to improve our customer satisfaction and, the experience, the whole customer journey get changed, And this is something that you have to keep on changing because this changes again, So
absolutely,
what we
it's the evolution.
Not the same 2 years. Yeah, 2 years down the track, it will be different,
Yeah. I like how you talk about connection and continuous changing because it is an evolution. As things move, changes, customers have different expectations, as we talked about before. But you talked about connections, and at the Engine, we love building deeper connections. And Kat, you touched on it before about behaviour. We also look at the emotional conversation. I mean, customers aren't data points; they're human beings. They truly understand. When you truly understand your customers, understand how they feel, what they do. We sit down with the business and their team in a half-day and full-day workshop and facilitate the implementation of a customer experience conversation in their business. We do that with a deck of cards, and everybody gets to have a say in terms of how is the customer feeling? How do we want the customers to feel? And we actually end up coming to an agreement of how we're going to operate, rather than everybody just doing it as a silo. So Kat, how do you manage this when you are trying to develop a pipeline for a customer?
Well, it's really interesting that you say customers aren't data points, and this is something that I really believe strongly. Even the words leads, prospects, target market, it's just such brutal language. We're in the market of dealing with humans, especially when it comes to marketing and that emotional connection. But when it comes to understanding or building a pipeline for a client, really it's about understanding who their customer is firstly. And, that often there's a few of them. So it's really getting to the heart of which one or ones and, how we're going to niche. And then it comes down to doing a deep dive on those customers' pains and gains. So a pain is something that they want to avoid, and a gain is something they want to move towards. And from there, that forms the basis of a messaging roadmap. It's one of a few parts that I start to build on.
I love how you talk about the pain and the gain, Kat, because the gain is the outcome that we're all driving towards. I mean, when the customer is happy, they're likely to work more with you, promote you, and it's so important to understand that. Let's just now dive into the data. To stay relevant to your customers, brands must listen to customers and act on the data, although achieving customer loyalty starts with strategy. And the work that we do at the Engine, we work with brands at a holistic level. This includes leveraging the technology. This is your space, Bejoy. Let's talk about the technology that we can use.
Yeah, you're right, Catherine. So, in the fast-moving world today, data is really important to stay relevant and, cultivate the customer loyalty. And the tools like CRM definitely help, but it shouldn't be there to help. It should serve to support your organization's initiative and goals to those trend, So I think if the business, I would say a data-driven strategy should be behind to back this up, because otherwise there's no point having tools and you have data. If you have a strategy, how are you going to do that? What actionable things are you going to do with the data? And whether it's a customer preference or behavior or needs, are you going to analyze this data and make some strategic decisions to be able to create that new product or change your current offering? That's the main thing. I believe that's a more important thing. Tools are really helpful, and technology, of course, play a really crucial part in this to get the data. And again, another thing is like you can, with AI, you can get predictive analysis from the past behavior of these data, and then you can predict what the customer wants even before, they ask you. You already have a product for them. So yeah, but the strategy is the main thing behind this. I would say that.
I like how you talk about strategy, because in everything I do, strategy is the overarching message. You've got to understand what your strategy is before you actually implement your plan. So without a strategy, you just can't have a plan. And I like how you talk about the tool support. It's something that Kat and I talk about quite often. Like, yes, AI is here, but AI should only be here as a prompt. You've still got to put that human connection back into your messaging, back to your customers. So use AI, it's definitely here, but make sure you're actually working with people like Kat who can implement and help you implement that human element of your business. So let's talk about the hustle and bustle of daily operation, where you're constantly striving to foresee and prevent the next issue and attending to customer feedback. And it often ends at the lowest priority. The questions you need to ask yourself is, when was the most recent occasion you paused to truly heed what your customers were expressing? I mean, have you even discussed their feedback on a more comprehensive level with your leadership team, your customer service manager, or your marketing manager? For businesses to truly embrace the customer's perspective, they must first master the art of listening without becoming defensive. But Joy, as a business owner, how do you turn defensive into an opportunity?
Yeah, good question. So, like you said, as a business owner, trying to juggle between different roles, different hats, So the customer feedback is the last thing you want to address it many times, But like you said, ask yourself, when was the last time you genuinely asked for a customer feedback and try to see what the customer is saying? And I believe the defensive side comes when you're trying to safeguard your business. I think we need to start, acknowledge the emotional reaction in that feedback and try to listen. Put yourself in the customer's shoes and understand their feelings, and separate your personal emotion, and don't try to take it as a personal attack on you, and then look at that feedback and see if it's valid. Is it something that you need to change? I think it's okay to probably sometimes you get when you hear that kind of feedback, take a step back, don't respond immediately, take time to gather that information and see where is exactly what's, is there any validity to it, and if you genuinely need improvement, then that's the time that you need to make that decision. And the second thing is thank that customer for giving that feedback, because you need to make them feel valuable, because that's a valuable information that you got into your business, right? And I think then making those changes, and if you can communicate with them, that they feel valuable, because they can see that you making that change, So that's always feedback is an opportunity to improve. And if you take time, consider, and make that effort to address that and make changes, I think there's a opportunity. You can create an opportunity from there.
Yeah, look, Bejoy, you've taken all the words out of my mouth. I mean, whenever somebody says to me, oh my God, I got a negative Google review, I go pause, which is what you said, just stop, pause, and actually dive into the thought process from the client. What are they saying? And do a bit of a quick reflection amongst your team around what may have happened. But also, when you do phone the client, make sure it's done timely, and also, thanking them is so important. When people are thanked for their feedback, I mean, more often or not, negative feedback is people just want to be heard. And sometimes they feel it's just easier to write it in the form. It would be good if they could pick up the phone and ring and talk to you about it. But human beings also, shy away from doing that. So, yeah, all good stuff, Bejoy. Really, really all good stuff. How important, Kat, is to address negative feedback timely? I mean, it's talked about timely, and how do you address it?
Good question. So when you're in business, you're actually in the reputation management game, especially today with social media and public review forums. It can be really tricky to manage that negative feedback. And I think it's about distinguishing between whether that feedback is genuine or whether it's trolling and bullying, and making that distinction. So I was running a campaign for a client on Facebook a few years ago, and we inevitably got negative comments. And what I tried to do was turn the comments that I could into opportunities. So turn them around and try and educate through that comment, through our response, just to build trust or further trust. If there was this bullying or personal sort of feedback or comments, it's a block and delete. So there are ways to manage it, but it's a delicate game.
It is a delicate game, and like you said, you've got to actually work out, is it valid or is it trolling and bullying? And sadly, we still exist in a world of trolling and bullying, regardless of this, harmful digital communications act. It's out there, but are we actually enforcing it? It's an interesting balancing act for sure, Kat. And I always say to customers, like I was talking to someone yesterday about front-footing communication with a client. If you've got an issue, rather than shying away from it, communicate the difficulty, but communicate it in a way that you're front-footing it and you've got a solution. And if you don't know what to say, engage someone like Kat or engage someone like myself to be able to help you navigate that, what I call a PR exercise. So, Kat, listening is the key to customer engagement. Active listening forms the foundation of customer engagement. Effective conversations always start with attentive listening. In today's modern era, the manner in which a brand interacts with its customers hold equal, if not greater, significance compared to the quality of its product. So when I said Kat, I was going to ask you, Kat, what advice do you have around listening?
So I think it's about having processes in your business that make room for listening. So because in the busy day today, being intentional about that, you can drop the ball or just not do it. So baking it into a business process, I find really helpful. So for example, asking for feedback after a client has worked with you. And then of course, monitoring social media is also a really good way just to listen what your wider audience is saying and what customers may be saying too.
Absolutely. And who should be monitoring that social media? I mean, we get so busy, Kat. How do we keep on top of all that?
Yeah, it is a big job. I think, I prescribe to a philosophy of less is more. So I don't try and spread myself too thin across too many channels. I keep it quite contained so that for me, it's easy to do. And I'm a smaller business, but even bigger businesses, I think it is just having that process baked in where someone in the marketing team can go through and just do a bit of analysis on what is going on the socials.
Yeah, and if you don't have a marketing team, it's keeping it healthy, right? Like you said, keep it really tight and reined in and manageable, because you can't be everywhere. I want to dive into some case studies. I'm not sure if you both remember, but Uber had some backlash over a surge in their pricing during emergencies. Public outrage when it implemented surge pricing, and customers argued that this was exploited pricing and it was unethical. Although Uber defended the pricing as a way to incentivize drivers during high demand, they eventually had to revise their policy due to the public pressure and customer backlash. Let's get some thoughts from you, Kat, on this. What are your thoughts around what happened with Uber and just the sort of reneging back on based on public pressure?
It makes me really sick that they even thought that was a good idea in the first place. You're exploiting people who are vulnerable. And it's just for me personally, it's just not really an acceptable strategy for such a big business. So I'm not surprised they walked back that strategy. And I think that's quite damaging.
Yeah, and the reality is it's brand reputation. So, you have to consider the timing is, I mean, obviously we all need to increase pricing at various times, but it's all about the timing. And, that was probably not one of the smartest moves, and certainly got the calling of the public. So the whole reason I wanted to talk about the subject today is when I was on holiday recently, in a holiday where it rained all the time, so that was an interesting holiday, I read an empowering article in The Entrepreneur about your listening to your customers. And it was how Khloe Kardashian and Emma Grady drove 200 million in annual sales with their size-inclusive fashion brand, Good American. By connecting deeply with their customer, they were getting lots of returns of sizes, and they got the feedback and realised that it was necessary to have a size 15 in between a 14 and a 16 to accommodate more body types. And they were actually, their whole brand was about inclusivity for all women with the product that they had. And by just bringing in the size 15, it's resulted in tremendous growth and loyalty from customers being heard. Kat, do you have a local example of growth based on similar learnings?
I do. So it's AF Drinks. They're a range of alcohol-free drinks, but they're beautifully packaged. They have really fun names. And it's based on the understanding that there is an increasing number of people that don't want to drink anymore. But there's still, especially in New Zealand, a stigma about going out and having a drink and not having that alcoholic drink. So they've really tapped into the sentiment. And from what I can tell, they're doing really, really well as a result.
And also just that whole tapping into the not drinking is also the balancing act of not having it as a high sugar drink, right? So you've got to really be looking at, right, I've got a gap here in the market that we can actually service, but also considering all aspects of it. So that's a really good case study. I look forward to hearing more about that, Kat. In this LinkedIn Live episode, we've explored the importance of actively listening to your customers and the positive impact it can have on your business in doing so. We discussed how customer feedback is a valuable source of information that can help you improve your product, services, and overall customer experience. By actively seeking out and encouraging customer feedback, you can gain valuable insights into their needs, preferences, and pain points, and, as Kat said, gain obviously some opportunities. Bejoy, what final word do you have today in terms of what we've talked about today?
Firstly, thank you, Catherine, for shedding light on the significance of this customer feedback in today's episode. But in fact, every piece of customer feedback holds a huge amount of potential for growth, innovation, and building more connections, robust connections with the customers. And in our work with businesses, we adopt a holistic approach of carefully planning and leveraging technology tools like CRMs and analytics. And these tools become the most important tool guiding towards a customer-focused future, and where we constantly refine our offerings and our way of doing business, and that increase the experience that we deliver. So thank you for having me in the episode. Let's all keep embracing the customer feedback as a stepping stone to, a greater success for your business. Thank you.
Thank you, Bejoy. That's great. And Kat, what about any final words from you?
Yeah, I think just being really mindful that having a customer-centric approach to business should be at the heart of your business, because that does, like Bejoy says, it drives innovation, it drives growth, it drives brand, which drives sustainability. So it is a really essential part of the business game.
And I like how you talk about heart, because that's what the engine and the engine provider community is all about. We care about your success, and obviously our outcome is really getting to the heart of the issue to deliver the heart back into and the passion back into your business. So listening to your customers is not just a passive act, but an active and ongoing process that requires dedication and commitment. Hopefully you've got some great insight today. By actively seeking and listening to your customer feedback, responding promptly, and using the insights gained to drive improvements, there's no doubt you'll build stronger relationships with your customers and create a business that truly meets their needs. If you want to get a conversation started, come and talk to us at The Engine. We'll help you conduct a customer survey as part of our 360 review of your business. And we'll even look at building a workshop with you that will build deeper connections with your customers. Reach out to us at businessadvice@theengine.biz. I'll have another episode on another great topic soon. Kat and Bejoy, it's always a pleasure having you both here. Absolutely rate the work that you do with businesses, and hopefully we'll catch up with you on another LinkedIn Live soon.